right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
A tragic crash claims the lives of a mother and her 2 daughters. The new details of that accident as friends and family gather to remember them. 3 St. Charles County libraries face the chopping block.
It's not a good direction to go. If anything, we need more libraries, in my opinion.
Community members sound off, determined to keep the doors open. But first,
this line of storms continues to develop and move our way overnight. How it impacts us and why it's just one of 2 rounds of severe weather we're expecting on Sunday.
We begin with a live look of downtown St. Louis. I hope you got to enjoy today's beautiful weather because severe storms are headed our way right now. Good evening, I'm Laura Barcheski. Brent Solomon has the night off. We are in storm alert as another round of severe weather begins to develop tonight. Luckily, that rain stayed away for those City SC and Cardinals games. Meteorologist Gary Frank, take it from here.
Yeah, we're dealing with storms that are moving in from the west, as I just mentioned, and that's what we'll track for you here as we are in storm alert heading into the overnight. It's one of 2 separate lines of storms that will continue to impact us. So if you're just kind of tuning in, you're out of town, things of that nature, you're wondering what's going on, we're going to be dealing with some early storms. And you'll see these 2 complexes here. This one's starting to take more of a southeasterly turn. This one's still continuing to go to the west. In fact, 1 active tornado warning. Eventually, these are going to kind of morph into one big blob, and it's kind of that same satellite imagery I showed you earlier. We still are under separate risks, from moderate risks where there's significant wind expected as that starts to form into a line, and then we start to see those risks wane a little bit as it gets closer to us. What that means for us is really has to do with the timing. I think this is all the way through 7 a.m. That's where the Saturday risk goes for. Sunday has a different color, which we'll get to shortly. And a lot of it has to do with the humidity that's gradually coming in. This has come up about 5 or 6 degrees here since we've come in. The dew point's getting a little more humid. You'll see that. That's what's a key ingredient for us the next few hours. As those storms move in from the west, it's still dry through midnight. But round 1 arrives after 4 o'clock on Sunday. And that's what you'll see as our humidity is coming up a little bit. The wind has switched. It's now out of the south-southeast at around 10 miles an hour. That humidity coming up a little bit, but it's still 76 at this hour. So overnight, like I said, dry through midnight, chances increase from west to east, but really pick up by 4 o'clock. And that's the time I want to talk about round 1. There are 2 rounds with 2 separate threats. We'll time it all out for you and what you can expect for your Sunday just ahead.
Thank you, Gary. With storms on the way, you can stay up to date with the latest information on air, online, and the 5 on Your Side app. You can also text the word weather to 314-425-5355, and we will send you a link. Tonight, we're learning more about the victims of a deadly crash in South St. Louis County. A mother and her 2 daughters were killed Friday morning after crashing into a truck. Our Annie Krall joins us in studio with more from a memorial honoring them.
Laura, 45-year-old Michelle Yeager and her 2 daughters, Natalie and Kenzie Brooks, died in that crash on Interstate 270. It happened on the first day of summer break for the girls. And just days after, Natalie celebrated her 10th birthday.
Love you, girls. Saturday afternoon, family and friends gathered at Lee May Park for a balloon release to remember 2 young girls and their mother. Michelle Yeager and her daughters, Natalie and Kenzie Brooks, died Friday morning in South St. Louis County on Interstate 270. According to Corporal Dallas Thompson with the Missouri State Highway Patrol, a truck driver pulled over near the I-55 ramp because he thought his load was coming loose. As soon as he pulled over, a 1998 FMC Yukon driven by Yeager struck the truck from behind. The truck driver got out and helped pull out one of the girls after the SUV caught fire, said Thompson. He was unable to get Yeager and the other girl out. Michelle and 7-year-old Kenzie died at the scene. 10-year-old Natalie was rushed to the hospital, but she died from her injuries shortly after. The Hancock Place School District confirmed in a letter to families that the girls were students at Hancock Place Elementary School. The school superintendent, Dr. Kevin Carl, told us in a statement that it's been a shock to everyone in our school community. Our hearts and prayers extend to the family during this difficult time.
And in a letter to the families, Hancock Place School District said crisis counselors would still be available at the elementary school beginning next Tuesday for people who need help processing this horrible tragedy. Michelle worked at the pediatric dentistry of Sunset Hills, Wentzville, and Arnold, where coworkers say she was beloved. Laura?
Annie, thank you. Right now, we are working to learn more about a shooting that injured 2 teens. Police responded to Glasgow Avenue near Gamble Street in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood around 1:40 this afternoon. They found a 15-year-old victim who was shot in the shoulder and the stomach. A 17-year-old victim was also shot in the knee. Police say both victims were conscious and breathing when they were taken to the hospital. Right now, no suspect information has been released. We will keep you updated as we learn more. Just hours ago on West Page Boulevard, the St. Louis Fire Department battled a raging 2-story house fire. The fire sparked around 5:30 this evening. Fire crews say the flames went through the roof, the building had to be evacuated, and it quickly spread to the building next door. It only got to the roof before crews were able to put it out. Right now, we don't know if anyone was hurt, but medical assistance wasn't needed at the scene. We'll bring you the latest info as soon as we learn more. 13 students in the Ethical Society of Police's pre-academy recruitment program graduated this morning. It's the first program of its kind held in several years. The 10-week program was launched back in 2015 to help students from all backgrounds make it to the police academy. Courses are taught by current and former St. Louis police officers covering topics like report writing, constitutional law, professional ethics, and etiquette, community service, and more. This year, training was also extended to other branches of public safety, including city marshal, park ranger, dispatcher, and administrative roles. The fate of 3 St. Charles County libraries is up in the air. Now city leaders and residents are fighting back on calls to close them. Last week, a board of trustees for the library system says the reason for considering the closure is revenue loss. City leaders in O'Fallon and Wentzville passed unanimous resolutions against those closures. The mayor of Wentzville says closing these libraries would be a big mistake.
There's a lot of history, and our future needs this. Our kids need this. They need the education. They need the option to go to libraries and do some research and, and read some books.
It makes a huge difference when I'm teaching my kids to read as well, to be able to have a physical book to read and be able to borrow books from the library. I could never have that many books on my shelves at home.
The board will make their final decision on closing these branches next month. Depending on the decision, the libraries could be shuttered as early as June 30th.
It's a pleasure.
Some St. Louis fire crews spent time today not putting out flames, but filling up boots. This weekend marks the 29th annual safety weekend for kids at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis. The St. Louis Fire Department set up Fill the Boot toll roads around the city asking for donations. The fundraiser continues through Monday.
Coming up, fresh tennis courts in the City of Champions.
I mean, we just love it.
How tennis is seeing a spike in East St. Louis. Rolling out the City Connect jerseys, the Cardinals debut their fresh new uniforms at Busch Stadium tonight. Fans weigh in on the new designs.
Our severe weather outlook into the overnight hours sees the colors start to wane, going from 4 to 2. What that means for our severe weather outlook overnight and why we still may see significant severe weather on Sunday afternoon.
The City of Champions is hoping to make some new ones on the tennis court. Today, new tennis courts opened at Lincoln Park in East St. Louis. The local tennis association received a grant to serve up $33,000 to resurface and revamp the courts. It's all part of a push to get young people into the sport. Several families took a swing together at the new courts this afternoon.
I feel like with clean facilities and good facilities to practice on, it makes you want to do better. It makes you want to practice. It makes you want to get out and get that grind going.
When you have these things like tennis courts and playgrounds, football fields and all of this, for them to actually go outside and play and have fun, it's the best.
The courts bear the name of East St. Louis native Al Pendleton, a world-renowned umpire. Tonight, the Cardinals finally renewed their rivalry with the Chicago Cubs while debuting their new City Connect jerseys. The new jerseys sport lots of little references to the St. Louis area like river pinstripes, the arch, and nods to St. Louis rapper Nelly. And while the new uniforms are getting mixed reviews on social media, many people downtown today seem to like them. We caught up with some fans just before tonight's game.
Honestly, I love it.
I think it's our new favorite.
Yeah. A lot of people I know are bashing it, but I don't think so. I don't agree.
Who's bashing it?
I see it on social media. There's about a 50-50, and I'm like, just stop. It's good.
And it's cooling too.
Yeah.
It just feels good when on a hot day like this.
Corey Miller will have more on tonight's Cardinals game in sports.
Yeah, we're storm alert as we head into the overnight hours. This line of storms will continue to perhaps push together and form a line as it heads our way. We'll time out the specific threat and also talk about a second round in the afternoon.
On this Memorial Day weekend, fallen prisoners of war were honored at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. Hours ago, wreaths were laid on graves honoring POWs from World War II and Vietnam. They also remembered military members who died in the past year. It's been a tradition held at the cemetery since 2001. The Folds of Honor campaign, sponsored by Schnucks, is underway. You have through May 28th to round up at the register at all area Schnucks locations. The money raised goes towards scholarships for spouses and children of fallen and wounded service members and first responders. Five on Your Side is a proud partner of the Folds of Honor campaign. The Memorial Day weekend is seeing a surge in travelers. The TSA set a record for most travelers screened in a single day on Friday, surpassing last year's Thanksgiving's numbers. But as we round out the long weekend, the threat of severe weather could dampen travel for millions. Jen Sullivan has more.
The unofficial start to summer is underway, and millions of Americans are taking advantage of the long weekend to travel.
We're leaving from Chicago to go to the Big Island in Hawaii.
Airports were packed Friday. The TSA setting a record for most travelers screened in a single day. Nearly 3 million people at airports across the country went through security checkpoints. At larger airports like Newark Liberty International in New Jersey, they've been preparing for the hike and holiday travelers.
Big weekend for us, kind of the kickoff of summer travel. So we've been in preparation for several months.
Passengers being warned to arrive early.
Like 1.5 hours till our flight.
I'm like 2 hours early, which is not what I do. But because of the holiday, I felt that it was important to do so.
AAA estimating more than 38 million Americans will hit the roads this Memorial Day weekend.
A lot of folks have been putting off travel from the pandemic, and we've seen a really strong comeback in 2022, a really strong comeback in 2023, and even stronger in 2024.
But as millions of people take to the roads and skies, the threat for severe weather could dampen their plans. More than 65 million Americans from North Texas up through Kansas are in the path for severe storms Saturday, with the greatest risk over the Central Plains. Severe storms, hail, and tornadoes are all possible. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Day to enjoy outdoor activities across the bi-state over in Frontier Park in St. Charles, a celebration of local Irish culture. The Missouri River Irish Fest is taking place this weekend, hosted by the Irish chapter of St. Charles Sister Cities. It's a fundraiser to support exchange students from Inishowen, Ireland. And meteorologist Gary Frank is here to walk us through everything we need to know about these storms headed our way in a few hours, Gary.
Yeah, I would say in the next 4 to 5 hours, we'll probably have some sort of perhaps severe thunderstorm watch. It's something to pay attention to into the overnight hours. We'll watch how this system continues to develop. But look at this wide area of storms that's kind of filling in from Wichita to Oklahoma City. And we've seen many areas involved in some sort of watch right now throughout the region. In fact, just to kind of show you, you see some of the polygons or the familiar ones with severe thunderstorm warning. But, you know, this one right here in Kansas City, that area is under a tornado watch until 5 a.m. So you have that significant area. You also have this right now. This is a flood watch. So we have that through Monday morning. So we're having to deal with everything here at this moment. So that's the big story for us as we watch this line of storms that's eventually going to start to settle in, fill in into one specific line. And that's where I think our wind threat picks up into the overnight hours. Let's pick this up here by 2:45, 3 o'clock. Still rain around, but by 3 or 4 o'clock, how strong does it hold together? I think you're really going to see this line settle in, and this may be even a little bit later here, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning as we see this line push through. That's where I think the wind threat's going to be. It's not out of the question that a brief tornado is along this, but I think the wind threat, even 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock is around, pushes out of here by 10 o'clock. and then we get a break. We'll call that round 1. High wind, 70 mile an hour possible. That's where that leading edge is of that wind. That's where the dominant wind threat is going to be. Hail, I don't think is the biggest concern, but I could see it up to golf ball size. Brief tornadoes, those little spin-up tornadoes on the leading edge that don't last too long. These are not the long track tornadoes, but our flash flood threat tomorrow morning elevated, especially in those areas that got all that rain just yesterday. However, I think that's going to be a secondary thing overall. So we'll start off with rain still hanging around by 10 o'clock. But as we start to clear out, we're in a very humid air mass still. And things recover, storms may develop again in the afternoon. That's where our secondary threat is. An enhanced risk for severe weather. That's category 3 of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. And one of the reasons for it is we're going to watch this warm front lift north. Not only does it provide energy, it provides more instability and humidity. You're starting to see that. That trend will continue overnight. Additional development as this low tracks here. That's where we have all the spinning, different winds at different levels of the surface. And as this system walks through it by early morning, you'll watch how the back edge of that settles in, and that's where the wind threat is. But behind it, it's quiet. You'll notice how it's still, that spinning is starting to fire up. And along that area right there where this boundary is, watch how more storms may develop here as we pop up those, even maybe south. And I don't want to get too significant where north or south here at this moment, but that's where 75 mile an hour greater, 2-inch hail, and even a few longer track tornadoes are possible with a moderate flash flooding threat. That's round 2. That starts as early as 3 o'clock and ends by about 9 or 10, and we should be clear by then. But it's something to pay attention to as we have a lot of people outdoors, out and about. But we're going to have a busy morning and then perhaps a busy afternoon and evening as well.
Keep those alerts on.
Yep.
Get your weather radios out if you got them.
Absolutely. It's back online now.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. Corey, we had a crazy day in sports here in the Lou.
Lots of drama to go around, but at Busch Stadium and over at City Park, we are going to wrap it all up coming up in sports.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
Well, you didn't need a whole lot of help to get excited for tonight's game at Busch Stadium. Saturday night, Cardinals-Cubs, perfect weather. It's an ideal situation. Throw in the fact that the Cardinals have suddenly turned into the hottest team in baseball, and you're set for a tremendous ball game. That's exactly what we got. Look who was in the booth tonight. Yep, there's Waino on the national call. Wonder who he was secretly pulling for in this one. Card strike first, this Nolan Arenado single made it 2-0 in the 3rd inning. Back and forth all night long, though. 3-2 Cubs in the 6th. Mason Wynn double. That ties things again. Let's go to the 7th inning. Old friend Patrick Wisdom smokes one just down the line. Cubs up 4-3. Runners on, 2 outs in the 8th, and look who's coming up. Cubs killer, Matt Carpenter. Surprise, surprise, he comes through. Base hit to right. Here comes Alec Burleson chugging around third. The slide, he's safe. Tie ball game. The clutch hits kept coming, too. Brendan Donovan going to shoot one through the infield. That scores 2. Cards up 6-4. What a rally. Cardinals got one more, but it was still tense in the 9th. Cubs scored 3, but came up just short. Ryan Helsley finishes it off for a 7-6 win. Cardinals have won 4 straight and 9 of their last 11 games. How about that 8th inning?
The stadium was on their feet throughout the whole time, and you know, it's fun when that's happening here at Busch Stadium. I've seen a lot of games like that here, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying I was running above league average, so I'm faster than most of the league. Not most of the league, but half the league. Donnie told me. I don't know if it's accurate, but that's just what he told me, so he made me feel good.
Let's go over to City Park, and look who's back in town. Former City SC favorite Nico Giacchini. Warm welcome back as City hosted Seattle. This was a rough and tough game to begin things. Lots of physicality out there, but eventually we did get some scoring from the wrong side, though. A Seattle shot goes off Kyle Hebert's foot into the net, 1-0 Sounders. Seattle got loose on a breakaway in the 69th minute. Jordan Morris, 2-0 Sounders. City had one last push. Thomas Totlin, that's a late goal that made it 2-1. And they came so close to tying it. Klaus off the post. But this one ends 2-1 for Seattle. It's only the second 3-game MLS losing streak in City history.
It's almost a pity, and it's a shame that we don't get anything out of these games, Today more so than ever. I think 1 shot on target for Seattle. They scored 2 goals. So, yeah, sometimes when you're in a bit of a hole and you're in a bit of a rut, small things go against you.
Rough day for the Battlehawks down in Arlington. Manny Wilkins got another start at quarterback. He passed for a touchdown and ran for 2 more, but he also threw 2 late interceptions to seal the 36-22 win for Arlington. The Battlehawks will have to beat San Antonio next week in St. Louis to secure a home playoff game against those same Brahmas in the first round. Here's Coach on A.J. McCarron's status heading forward.
He came back for a reason, to get to the playoffs and win a championship. Well, we clinched. We got into the playoffs. So now we're trying to give as much rest as possible so that he's ready to go and he can make the push. So, we'll talk about this week. We'll see how it goes and what it looks like.
Everybody in Como has softball fever, even Eli Drinkowitz. Today, the Tigers stayed alive in the Super Regional with a 3-1 win over Duke. Columbia native Abby Hay got the big hit, and closer Taylor Pinnell tied an NCAA Division I record with her 15th save of the season. They'll play for a trip to the Women's College World Series tomorrow in front of another inspired crowd in Columbia.
What I said to them is, I want you to look around and I want you to start down the right field line and I want you to scan the entire stadium. You built this. And this is what we play for. And it's every little girl's dream to play in an atmosphere like this. And they're going to remember these moments for the rest of their life, regardless of the result. They're not going to talk about a strikeout or a base hit or a save. They're going to talk about who they celebrated these moments with.
Tigers have done their best work when they're up against elimination. Should be a fun one tomorrow.
Amazing, and they sold out all those games. It was just an excellent weekend for them.
Really fun run.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Gary, another look at those storms we got running our way.
Yeah, they're continuing to develop. You see many spots with the severe thunderstorm warning. None of that really is impacting us. We're not under any sort of watch just yet, but as this line continues to push, this is not falling apart. It's obviously already past sunset. There are a lot of other factors in play that will keep these storms not only the same pace or continue to strengthen as they push into a line. They should be here by 3, 4, or 5 o'clock, and Tracy will be in, as well as Scott, tracking the first round of storms. And of course, maybe 24 hours from now, we'll be talking about the second round of storms here in the afternoon. A lot going on, and it's all updated on KSDK.com.
Yep, text weather. We'll get it right over to you. Thank you so much, Gary. And that's all our time for 5 on Your Side at 10. Saturday Night Live is next.